Welcome back to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we're joined by Charles Rose. Charles is a real estate investor and coach who works with new investors to help them close that first cash flowing rental property on their path to financial freedom. He and his wife, Katherine Rose, built a six-figure automatic real estate business in 3 years. He also helps other investors scale their business into a six-figure real estate business. Charles firmly believes that getting in the right investor mindset is key to a successful real estate investor. Charles is co-host on the Master Passive Income podcast with Dustin Heiner and was a featured guest on the Breakthrough Millionaire and Living Off Rentals podcast. Charles, welcome to the show.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to be here in the show, Andrew. And we're just meeting, but I can see, you and I have a lot in common already. We both like the warm weather for sure.
Yep, that's right.
you know, you're in Florida, I'm from the Bahamas and living in the Dominican Republic, temporarily with my wife. And so
Mhm.
I think we're off to a great start.
Absolutely. We both love real estate. So,
That's right. Yeah, we both like real estate and warm weather.
that's right. So yeah, so
Awesome.
you grew up in the Bahamas and then came to the US. I guess how was that? How'd that journey, starting? Maybe you can
Yeah,
talk to us.
man. So starting the journey in the Bahamas. So I grew up, my family that I grew up in, we weren't necessarily poor. We definitely weren't rich and we definitely weren't middle class. So somewhere, just above a step above poor because we had dinner every night. My parents worked hard to make sure we were all fed. And I was well fed. I was a bit chubby when I was younger. But growing up, on the island, I always had these big dreams, right? I wanted to be a real estate investor from I was very young. Even when I probably couldn't even spell the word investment. When I first started, and I remember I would always say, when I grow up, I'm gonna have a duplex. I'm gonna live in one side and rent out the other. I from like that early age, I always had like that entrepreneurial mindset. I mean,
Hmm.
I even used to like sell snacks from my lunchbox when I
Oh
was like
yeah.
in elementary school, and
Nice.
soon that business got shut down. When the principal found out that I was, I'm competing with the snack shop. Of course I would tell people that my snacks are the best, those nice sweet treats that I just made my friends make it seem like it was the best, and they would always buy my snack. But I got shut down. So I had to move on to different things, and I did so many things over the years. I even sold cards and video games and whatever I can do. I always had that entrepreneurial mindset. Oh, by the way, too, I made the best ramen noodles. Like, I know you may be thinking it's just ramen noodles, but I had my own spices, my flavors. I add stuff to it. And the neighbors used to buy it from me. So I was like
Really?
making money. I had my little like, side hustle going on.
That's awesome.
And soon, someone, a very beautiful lady tasted my ramen noodles, my special ramen noodles. And 7 years later, here we are with a baby and everything. But anyway,
Reel
I
her
say
in with the
to
noodles.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm telling you, man. One of these days, hey, if we get to be in the same place, I'll make it for you. But I say all that to say that I always had an entrepreneurial mindset, and from I was younger, and my parents didn't, necessarily have all the money in, but I wanted to go off to college in the U.S. Always wanted to go. So, Andrew, I did something crazy. Everybody in Ireland thought I was crazy for doing this. I literally, so I applied to several universities and everything, and the first university I got accepted to, which was UNC Charlotte. I literally was like, okay, I'm going to go to university, and I don't know how it's going to be paid. It was my school fees was like over $30,000 a year. My
Hmm.
parents don't even make 30,000, and I was like, I'm going to go. I'm going to apply for scholarships. I'm going to try to get there. And now on the island, so what you see on TV, all relaxed, laid back, is exactly how it is. It's so late. Like I didn't even know if I got scholarships or not. But classes started in August, and I'm still wondering if I got scholarships or not. And I did something that was crazy, which was for people on the island. Was I purchased a one-way ticket to Charlotte, North Carolina, in hopes of fulfilling my dreams of becoming an engineer and someday a big real estate investor.
Hmm.
And So I did this, and people in Ireland was like, "Oh man, he's crazy! Like, he don't have any money." He went over, and to cut a long story short, I almost get kicked out of the university because I couldn't pay my school fees. And yeah, I almost get kicked out, and that was like, it all came to me. I was like, wow, I could really get kicked out. But I was like, well, you know what? If it don't work out, at least it'll be a nice vacation. And so, but it ended up, thank God it ended up working out, and I ended up, getting scholarships, and my story is a little bit different too. Before I even got the scholarships, I was interviewed on TV, back in the Bahamas, sharing my story, how I went off all in a one-way ticket, and, talking about my faith, my perseverance and everything. And so many people, from the US and the Bahamas, even from England, they heard that interview. And a lot of people like poured into me to help me finish college debt-free. And so I got to that place where, I was living the dream, living the American dream, Mr. Engineer, working for a top heavy civil firm. And I got to a place, Andrew, where I was too comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I started to forget my true dreams, and like of becoming a real estate investor. And I was just, climbing the career ladder until finally I hit this wall. I hit this place where, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And sometimes too, I wasn't making the right choices financially. A lot of us, we fall into that same trap of, spending and overspending and these different things. And I was like, how did I get here? And so I had to like kind of did some reassessing and kind of like figure out, okay, so what am I going to do different? How can I be a better person? Like, I know people listening right now, maybe they're in that same situation where they feel stuck. They feel like they hit a wall. Maybe they got too comfortable. But I was right there. And so that's when I realized I need to go back to my first true passion, which is real estate. And so I started like consuming so many content on the topic of real estate, ran into Master Passive Income with Dustin Heiner. And, I read article after article, read his podcasts, read his books. And I was like, I'm going to do real estate investing. I'm going to go back to that. And I was able to go through his program, his coaching program, and I was able to close my first property, which was a duplex. So remember the story, when I was a kid, I talked about my first property being a duplex. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that didn't come true is I didn't live on the other side because that duplex was, I struggled in Charlotte, North Carolina. I struggled because the market is like one of the top fastest growing real estate markets. And so I branched out into Memphis, Tennessee. And so I got my first property was a duplex. So even though I didn't live on one side, the good news is that I get 2 rent checks every single month to this day from that property. And so that was a game changer for me. And I had to realize that I need to take this, I need to keep multiplying and go even further. And so, but the only thing is I ran out of money after buying my second property. And so I was like, okay, I could stop investing and save up more money. Or I could just, say, okay, well, I got 2 properties, total of 3 units, and, I'll just keep working and working. But I decided I wanted to do something different. I realized the corporate game where they try to pay you as little as possible, right? We call this a job, a job, just over broke. They pay you just enough so you don't quit, so you can pay your bills, but never what you're truly worth, right? In fact, they could never pay you what you're truly worth because, if you have people listening right now, I'm sure you have some valuable audience out there, and I want them to know that their job could never pay them what they're truly worth. No. And so I realized I had to take a step further. And so, this can go in so many different directions. But what I got into was, since I ran out of money, was I got into creative financing. And one of the biggest strategies I used was private money. So instead of going to the bank or a big traditional lender, I would go to an individual. Maybe it's a family member, a friend. If you don't have family members or friends with money, there's so many other people out there who lend you money, right? Or I like to put like this, like, instead of saying, let me borrow some money, how would you like to create how would you like to create an incredible opportunity to build wealth, right? By using your funds to purchase this property, and you make, set amount of interest or whatever you agree to with them. And so I've literally done that over and over again, where I'm even able to, I bought a lot of properties, even nothing down. And so that's how I ramped up my business and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like fast forward to today, I'm able to help so many others because, as you do these things, Andrew, like, you have a podcast, so you know how it is. Like, people ask questions like, how did you do it? Right.
Right.
And so now I'm able to speak and share the story on different podcasts, and then also coach at Master Passive Income.
That's awesome. So I
Long
guess
story. Trying to
no,
fast.
it's incredible story. Incredible story. So how many units or buildings do you have, are you built up to now?
Yeah, so I was up to a total of 17 units. Now I'm down to 15, and then I'm closing my first international
Oh, really?
property here in the
Oh,
Dominican Republic.
oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very
Yeah.
nice. I was going to ask you, do you believe in the law of attraction? It seems like, throughout your story, you had a couple things where you visioned it and then it actually came true multiple times.
Yes, absolutely. So I remember I actually, as a part of my journey, as I was, consuming so much content, reading books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Quit Your Job in Rental Properties by Dustin Heiner, and all these other things. One of the things I was, I watched the Secret
Oh,
documentary
yeah.
that talks about the law of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, the biggest thing I got out of it was really like changing that mindset, right? To become an investor, right? Believing. And because that's often a barrier that stops us. That's often a limiting belief that maybe we don't have enough money. A lot of people don't invest because they feel like they have to have enough money. Or in my situation, thank God I was able to buy my first two properties with my money. But that third property, I had to get out of the box, right? I had to look at, I don't have to use my money to buy these deals.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, to answer your question, law of attraction, I definitely, I definitely believe that you can attract these things in your life by having the right mindset.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. Now, I know you're over in DR, I think for a month or month and a half. Besides, being able to travel and make your own schedule, how has building up this passive income stream affected your life and your family's life?
Yeah, so man, I'm glad you asked that question. It's life changing. So we've actually been living here in the Dominican Republic since October 8th, right? And the cool thing about it, so here's the thing. So going back to jobs, right? A lot of people say, why are you getting into real estate? It's so risky, And I said, you should just get a job. You should just, climb the career ladder. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but to say that real estate is more risky or investing is more risky than that, I don't see where it's true, because at any moment you can be terminated. Any
Right.
moment you can be terminated on the job,
Yep.
for whatever reason, good or bad. And it's not if you get fired, it's when you get fired. Like, we all will not have our job, even if you have to like be moved out because you have to retire, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, and so I had a situation where my employment had to be terminated. It was all on good terms and everything, with the situation. But there was so much peace, and I remember it so clearly, right? As I drove off from the job on my last day, it was so much peace inside of me, knowing that I had built wealth, knowing that I built like passive income and cash flow, knowing that I could take care of my family. I have a wife and a 11-month-old baby girl. Just from the properties that I was able to purchase, that brings in enough passive income to take care of my family. To me, that was life changing.
Yeah.
And so we decided to, instead of getting a job, let's spend some time in the Dominican Republic. I still do real estate coaching, and other things and everything, but I'm able to do this because of the wealth that the real estate has created.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I guess
Mm.
somebody, knowing what you know now and what you've been able to accomplish, somebody who's just starting out, what would you suggest would be a good way for them to get that first stream of passive income?
Yeah. So I would say, I look at this question so many times, thinking it through, right? And the best way I would say to get started is first changing your mindset, right? And making sure that you have that mindset of an investor, right? Like telling yourself you're an investor. You may think you're lying because you haven't invested in anything yet, But you tell yourself, when you tell yourself, and it's not about lying necessarily, you're not lying. If you tell yourself an investor, then you're going to make investor decisions, right? So if you tell yourself you're a billionaire, well, then you're going to it's going to push you to think like a billionaire, even though your bank account might not show billions yet.
Right.
And so getting in that right mindset is super helpful before you get started, because that stops so many people from getting started, Andrew. And even when you get started with something, you'll have friends and families who have, they don't mean anything bad by it, but they discourage you, right? So like when I got started with real estate, before I even buy a property, I have family and friends saying, "Really, you're going to do that? That's so risky." Or some of them was like, "Oh, I had a property and I lost so much money." And that's the stories that are pretty scary. That makes you, think, "Oh gosh, yeah, I don't want to lose money, so I won't go."
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that would be the first step is to make sure you get yourself in that right investor mindset. And I'm going to do another one further, rather than just saying get in the right mindset, right? Well, how do you get in that right mindset? And the biggest things to do that, I call it the 3 gets, right? Is get educated, right? So continue educating yourself. Continue listening to Andrew's podcast and read books. So many different things you could do to educate yourself, right? And then the second get is get around the right people. So we've all heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yep.
Right. And so if you're spending time with 5 losers, well, you'll be the average of 5 losers, right? As harsh as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to become a real estate investor, get around 5 real estate investors. You can get around more, but then you'll become a real estate investor. You'll be the average of them. And so that's the second thing that's so important is getting around the right people. And the third thing is get coached, right? So you can do it all by yourself and probably figure it out, but it's usually much longer. It takes a lot more time. And so getting coached will be the best route to go, whether it's a free coach or paid coach. I went the free route when I got started initially, but I do like the paid route more. So I'm always educating myself and paying coaches to teach me what they learn, so I don't have to make the same mistakes that they made. Right. So those are the things that can help you get in the right mindset to be a successful investor.
Hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this episode. Are you ready to maximize your real estate investing to its full potential? Send an email to andrew@jarrettcapital.com and take your life and business to all new levels. That's andrew@jarrettcapital.com. Yeah, I agree. I mean, coaching basically just condenses your time frames, right? Like, so you want to get in the gym and work out. Well, I can go work out, but if I hire a trainer, or a coach, I'm going to get results faster.
So, absolutely. Yes. I need to hire a trainer right now in that area.
Me as well. Yeah.
Yep. We're preaching to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yep.
So out of the deals you've done so far, do you have any that maybe haven't gone as planned, or, didn't really work out what you thought they would? And do you, kind of share what you've learned from that?
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. So one I could think of is and first of all, that's a really good question, Andrew, because a lot of people, you see the social media glam, everything is perfect, everything that worked out, but there are some things that don't work out behind the scenes. And so I remember purchasing a deal. It was actually my third deal, the one that I had to use creative financing for. It was another duplex, and one side of the duplex was rented, cash flowing already. The other side was not. And so a part of the process when I purchase a property, I always get a due diligence period, always do a home inspection. And I found out that the utilities were off on the vacant side of the duplex. And my home inspector was like, you need to get utilities on for inspection just to make sure there's nothing hidden going on. And I was like, oh no, don't worry about that. The other side is functional, so this side will be good. So I went through with the purchase of the property, and I ran into issue after issue. I mean, it was just crazy. I literally had to rip out the slab on the ground to fix pipe repairs. I had to rip out some of the walls and ceilings where the pipe was. It was leaks everywhere. I had electrical issues. I had issues even with the sewer line going into the city. it was just issue after issue. Even with the tenant, the kids keep flushing toys and different things in the toilet. It was just so many different things that went wrong, and I lost a lot of money going through that process, and it was discouraging. It really made me like stop and think. Am I really doing the right thing? I got into this to try to make money, take care of my family. And so I had to like step back and reassess. And that leads me into another thing where it's so important the company you keep, the environment, and the people you talk to, right? And so going back to that second get around the right people.
Yep.
And so, thankfully I hang out with a lot of successful people in real estate. And my mentor, Dustin Heiner. And so, I started to talk my situation, and I was even embarrassed at first, Andrew, to talk about it, because I kept building my business. Before I decided to figure out what I'm going to do, I kept the property for a year and I was buying other properties, but I felt like so embarrassed to talk. I don't know why. It's crazy. But anyway, so I finally decided to talk about it. And it's just amazing how I learned like so many things, like ways to get around it. Cut a long story short, I did end up selling that property. Thankfully, the market was on my side, because you know how the real estate market is.
Oh yeah.
And that was I think I sold it in like 2021 when I sold it, I believe, and the market had went all the way up, and in that area, and so I was able to recuperate my losses and still get an additional $10,000 that I could use, on other investments. But that was a struggle for me because I was rapidly growing my business and I didn't have a lot of cash on hand. I didn't have a lot of reserves. Right. And so yeah, so that's something I learned from the lesson there is always get an inspection, listen to the experts. The expert told me you should have utilities on before you buy this property, and I didn't listen. I didn't listen to the expert, and so I paid for it.
Well, I'm glad you're sharing it now because it's a great story for people to hear, and learn.
Absolutely.
So, and I've been there as well. I mean, those sewer lines and plumbing, electrical is not cheap. So,
it is not.
I can imagine.
It is not. I literally had to take out loans to pay for it.
Right.
But I paid it all back. When I sold the property.
Do you have any daily habits or anything you do that kind of keeps you grounded and motivated to keep going?
Yeah, man. Oh gosh. Funny how you asked that too, because being here in the Dominican Republic is like it's kind of like everything kind of like changed just because I'm in a completely different place and now I'm home with my wife and daughter and everything. But some of the things that I like to do every morning when I get up, I like to so I'm a believer, and so I'm up, I'm in the Word of God, and I like to meditate, and I like to exercise, right? Not in the gym. I do want to start going to the gym to meet some of my other fitness goals, but I do walk daily. So these are some of the things I like to start off my day with. But one of the things I also like to do every day, sometimes I miss days, but I like to look at my goals and my vision and everything. I'm very big on goals and vision, and not just just looking at them. Sometimes I have to reassess, right? And ask myself, why aren't you hitting this goal? Or, what are you doing? Are you being too lazy, or do you need to speak to someone else to help you reach this goal? And then also not just beating up myself, but also like celebrating my wins and my successes as well. So that's kind of like a part of my whole morning routine to get my day going.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. The workout is kind of keeps you in that mindset too, like you were talking about. For me, anyways, that helps a lot.
Absolutely. You work out?
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of cardio. I got to get back into the weights, but
yeah.
Nice.
I thought you did weights, man.
No,
yeah. So we both need to get back into that.
yeah, exactly.
So, I probably should get like a trainer whilst I'm here, Andrew, because in the Dominican Republic, the cost is much less, right?
Yeah,
so
true. Exactly.
I should have taken advantage of that. Like being over here, I could have like a Dominican trainer.
Yeah, just need a couple weeks, get you in that habit, create that habit, and then you're good to go.
I know. I may have to do that.
Not a bad idea. I guess, Charles, what are you most excited about going into 2024? We got mid-December right now. What's on your mind coming up?
Oh man. So I like to rhyme. I was just thinking about it the other day, right? 2024 in 2024, I'm excited for more. Sounds cheesy, but it rhymes, right?
Yeah.
I'm expecting more. So yeah, so for me, I'm always excited about the new year. And hitting, new goals, new targets. I actually set my goals before the end of the year, and I started working on them before. So my new year, started in October, kind of.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why I do that, Andrew, is because I realized that when I set goals for the new year, um, especially if I set it early, I may get to the new year and just not get to it. Versus like I have this philosophy is like, what I can do today, what I do tomorrow. So I
True.
like to start early on. And so for me, so when we spoke initially, I mentioned that I'm scaling into multifamily. And so for this past year, since probably about March, I've really been focusing in on multifamily. And so I've been getting around the right people. I joined, a couple of memberships and groups and everything. And so I've been spending a lot of time networking, learning, all these different things. And, I'm getting close to that point where I'm going to pull the trigger on my first multifamily property. And so that's kind of one of the big things I'm looking for in 2024.
Hmm.
I have a long list of things, but I would say that's probably one of the biggest ones, one of the biggest things on my list that I'm looking to achieve.
That's awesome. What kind
Yep.
of multifamily are you looking for, unit size wise?
Yeah, so for me, since I'm coming from single family, I'm looking to break into the apartment complex space, something around the 30 to 50 units
Hmm.
range. I'll take something smaller, I'll take something bigger too, but that's
Right.
kind of like the, what I've been setting up my filters, and as I'm communicating with brokers and other investors, that's the message I'm communicating to attract those types of deals.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
If you could turn back time, I guess, to when you were 18, knowing
Mm-hmm.
what you know now about real estate and everything, would you change anything? And is there anything that you would tell, younger Charles?
Yeah, man, that's a good one, right? Sometimes people just like, oh, I wouldn't change a thing. Everything I learned has helped me to get where I'm at. And that's true. That's very, very true. Everything I've learned to help me. But in reality, I would change a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
um, the biggest thing I would say, one of the biggest things I would say is start investing earlier, right? We've all heard that famous saying, the famous quote, don't wait to buy real estate and wait.
Right.
I would have literally started earlier, and there's so many programs you can use to get started.
Hmm.
I got my first property when I was 26 years old. If I had my mindset shift earlier and that change, well, I could have had my first property at maybe 18, right? So as I was in college, maybe I could have purchased that duplex sooner, live in one side and rent out the other side to a college student. You can make some good money from college students, right?
Yeah.
I could have rent out per room
Right.
too, right?
Hmm.
So I would definitely say, I would tell myself start earlier. Don't let money get in the way
Yeah.
because, really, I mean, you heard my story of how I came to the U.S. as an island boy,
Hmm.
with no money.
Right.
And if I was able to pay over $120,000 in my college education,
Yeah.
um, you know, I, what is a small down payment to maybe get into FHA loan,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Pay 3.5% down and the house
Right.
hack.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say start earlier
Yeah.
for sure.
Great advice. Yep. I
Yeah.
agree. Now I got one more question for you to
Mhm.
get into our Five to Thrive. But first, how do people reach out and contact you or, get in touch with you?
Yeah, so absolutely. The best way is on Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram. You just search Charles Rose Jr. I'm there on Instagram, and send me a message. I check all my messages and respond. And then also to for those who would like to get started in real estate too, we have a free course to help them get started as well, and no gimmicks, no catches. You don't even have to put your credit card in. If you text the word rental to 33777, 888-883-3777. We'll send you a real estate course completely free to help you get started in real estate. Or you can just go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. It's all one word, free course, masterpassiveincome/free course. So any one of those ways will kind of help you get in touch with me.
Okay. Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. We'll put that in the show notes as well, so people can just click it. So last question, if you could step in my shoes for the interview, what's one question you'd ask yourself and answer that I did not ask you?
Oh my gosh, you get me, put me on the spot, man. I always, I think, when I think of that question, I go back to the mindset, right? Because I feel like breaking through those limiting beliefs could be very, very challenging to get us started, right? Yep. So I wouldn't, and I feel like you touched on some of those things too, but I would say I would dive deeper into it, because I think that's really going to help your audience to get started, not just get started, but to break through that next level by breaking through those limiting beliefs. And I think, it all goes back to the company you keep, and then the things you tell yourself and believe, going back to the law of attraction, right? Yep. Maybe we could dive deep into that, but that's a whole nother topic. That could be a whole show talking about the law of attraction.
No, that is true. It's a great answer. I mean, every income level and every step is a different mindset. I agree with you on that for sure.
Absolutely. Good question though.
Oh, thank you. So now our 5 to thrive. So this is word association. So I just ask, write off 5 words. Just give me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. The only thing is you cannot repeat the same answer.
Oh gosh. Let's see how I do with that.
Yeah. Right. The first one, rental property.
Let's see, passive income.
Debt.
Use it wisely.
Yes. Passive income.
Freedom.
Leverage.
Growth.
And Charles Rose Jr.
That's a good one. Charles Rose Jr. Investor.
I like it.
Oh man, I love it.
Well, Charles, it was great having you on the show, man. I really appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing your knowledge for everybody.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, man. And great to meet you. And I just think you're doing an awesome thing with this show. And if you're listening to this show, continue listening. And Andrew's going to continue dropping those golden nuggets. And so I'm super excited to hear more of what Andrew's will bring to you.